layers, the layers. Seeing what's back there that delays you. I know that the lazier they get, the more they're gonna feel the lasers. And I'm sure that it blaze you first. I'm not trying to stand with the glazers, or the ones that move like glaciers. I know they're seeing that the spaces I put in between the words are kinda just changing the intentions, changing the wayward shift. I mean the way it just splits, I mean the way these spits hit the motherfucking screen, the way they spray from the lips, it just might just cause you to get put in the dent, put in the trenches. And this treacherousness that I'm spitting is probably something that's relentless when you look at it from a certain perspective. There's no way to reverse this, permanent effects that are gonna always affect the way you're seeing yourself and the ferns that surround you. And I'm sure that interjecting with some kind of injury is the first priority that you have, cause you wanna see if you can singe me. But the only solution at the end of the day is to sing with me and sing about me and see if there's something that you need to see about me. And I see the clownery, and I see that they're trying to surround me, they're trying to find out what it is about me. How the fuck all is this coming out me? All of this shit is coming out me, and they're about to see one or two things and see what the clouds bring. And it's getting too cloudy, can't even see past it. But I know that the ones that wanna doubt me, they're gonna see passion in the eyes, and really it's just pushing past them. And this is the last chance they have, but I know that it's flashing past them like their life, and that fucking death is a flash in a pan, and it's just something that's flashing. I know that's something they have in their hands, and really I'm collaborating with the ones that have something to say with it. Moving backwards like a wayward kid that has nowhere to go, no safe spaces to be talking, letting shit off the brain. I know there's a lot to say, and a lot of it just sounds like a refrain, just sounds repetitive, like over and over again. You're just saying the same thing with nothing to gain. But I'm sure that the gain is turning up, and the temperature is slowly creeping up there, just so people can see the game. And they know that this shit is not a game. And I never was playing, I mean I'm never just chilling in the plains, endless plains got to run through. But I know that the complaints are always gonna bleed through, like the little fine print that you can't see unless you do a thorough read through. And I'm just saying what I need to reach you, get into the screen too. If the screen is the thing I need to do, then I'm gonna do it. And if you just hear a faint scream, then just know that's the signal that you need to jump out the window like Batman and be Son again. And now the sonogram gon' catch ya. That's just a glimpse on the graph that you're gonna have to clip and come back to him. And really the Colonel gonna understand and try to find a way to discern the truth. But I know it's turning like a turnstile, and there's no way to turn it out. But it turns out that the doubt is always clouding her mind, but really it's creeping back. And I'm sure that getting out of that dark place they're in is probably something that beats the shit out of them. Browbeating and brow busting, and how the fuck am I gonna come to any other conclusion that I'm the best when I'm the only one pushing this discussion? This is just something that gets discussion, as it seems to me like it's something that is pushing us back and putting us back way further. And I'm just trying to further the cause, not sure what caused it, but I know that pausing, pushing pause is not enough. There's gotta be something that addresses the root causes, otherwise this is just gonna keep calling. And the calling is coming from inside the house, and the fine print is something that I can't read unless I can put it in the scrolling. And I know that it's something that is deposed when I suppose they're gonna find a new place to dispose of the evidence that they put together as soon as I came and disclosed them. Disclosure is a bitch, ain't it? And I know that their vision is tainted, but really this is something to get acquainted with, cause otherwise they're gonna shift the way they're speaking and the things they're saying. Always got a new technique, a new way to get this shit through. And this is just relentless too. Luntha's in the chat, what's up? Yeah. And it might just find you, and I can find the fine prints that are left behind, cause that's the crime scene that I find myself in constantly. Not gonna return to that, cause that's the first mistake they make when they want to get caught and then put in the back of the cop car. Not gonna cop it, not as far as I can tell. But the problem is, it's all problematic, but I can see that it's all twigs that are getting burnt up like firewood. But I'm not sure what the cause is or what it is actually deserving of. And I know that the way to turn this is to learn this is a lesson that only gets learned once. And I'm sure that the road is lurid and getting learned in, and lurid is not the thing you want to do, but luring, getting lured in. to this fucking conditions that I'm getting conditionally put in, and there's something that sinks in. I'm waiting to turn vocals up slightly. Okay, let me just wait, relentlessly saying, what's the best way to go about that? Let me think, I'm just saying, trying to press the gas, and I'm sure that there's something that the questions are. Put it back. How does that sound? Is that better? Is it coming back through? This is actually a beat I made a while ago and forgot about. Put it on the drive and just kept driving. Wasn't even thinking about it, but I was in the vibe and I was just thriving, trying to think of a third beat that I could put on this live stream that I can just kick rhymes with. And I thought of this one because the melody was inside of my head, somewhere deep inside of the creases and the folds and the corners where you can't even see it. It's just untold names and moments that are going by your eyeballs and you can't even keep track of all of them. That scores is trying to reach the scoreboard before you even have time to interrupt the force of it, and it might just turn the vocals up even more still. Okay, if I must then, and seeing if the discussion is enough to have then, does that do what we wanted? Is that enough for the practice? Is that practical enough? I'm not sure if they have this peak limiter. Gonna see if it limits you. Gonna see if it gets to the end of the integer. Probably not gonna injure you if I have to. And I'm sure that in practice it gets you faster. And I'm playing with these bastards because they deserve it. They're gonna see that the plaster doesn't taste good when I put it back in plastic. Put it to you, attach you, run it around. Okay, I can still put the beat down a little bit just to see if that keeps them clowning. Getting the levels right. Now I feel like I can turn this compression down a smidge, just a smidgen. Like I'm getting it feeding little bits and pieces to the pigeons. Need to feed the pigeons so I can get to thinking. Yeah, to turn the beat down a little bit. I was just thinking the same thing, had the same inkling. So let me see if it's sounding any better. You're gonna have to tell me that from out there. I'm not sure if I have the weather scars, and this is just something that gets you far, and whether the cause is something that's gonna get you coughing. Now I'm just putting them all in a coffin and letting it cause a whole problem in the news and the headlines. One it with caught onto it, but this is a conundrum for all of us to solve. It's a public problem. Good now, cool. I'ma just keep on busting and just hoping to bust down, beat you down like a browbeat. And how could you see? This is something that is only found in the deep. Yeah, something that they're not used to tapping into, and that's the truth too. I mean, this is more factual than usual. It's something that gets into problems and factuals and actuals. Yeah, Amira's gotta go. Thank you for tuning in. Tell me how the audio sounds. Now I'm trying to just keep it going off of the dome. I love my baby and it's all just an offering I'm making. And I'm just trying to keep all this shit going. And I know that my legs are feeling shaky, but there's only something to shake on when there's something to get going. And I know that making it is not something that you can put in concrete terms, but I'm just trying to come to terms with what I'm learning, because things are keeping me turning. There's always new corners, and what's around it you're not gonna know until you turn it. And it gets my stomach turning and twisting in knots, but this is not something you should be concerned with. I'm just living what I got, trying to put dots on a scatter plot, because the plot gets scattered anytime my scatterbrain gets put on the matter. But a matter of fact, that's just a fact that they have to deal with, and squarely I can put you back in the place they came from, but I know that that's not gonna matter to them. And it's just a place I have to make space for in my brain, cause that's the only place that's spacious enough for me to just take these things that are going on and drain them. And it's draining, constantly thinking, constantly having that spinning going on, and the turnstile is spinning in my mind. It's ridden with all of these thoughts, riddling me with bullets, and these riddles get spit out of the dome of me, cause that's the only way to get the poems out and get it going. Cause the engine in me is turning, it gets gummed up with the works if I'm not spitting, and these words just cause me to get lost in my thinking for a second. Only way that I can let it out is try to put it together with the words connecting. This is something that's like nectar, something that might get you out of a hard time. Just one vector might listen to that and find a new way to put together the thoughts that you have, and it might just dissect you. It's a lesson or a lecture, something you need to leave, something you need to learn, cause otherwise it needs to leave you like leaves do in the fall. But you got burned, and it's a problem, not something that you can discern from everyday life. And bookworms are gonna squirm, they're gonna learn what they must, but something is getting It's getting too turned. And this is a new page to turn, and who knows what the fuck I should be concerned with. And I know that deserve it. What I do on the mic is something only the fewest of people alike could ever be said that they should be cursed with. And these curses come out so cleanly and so flowing, and I know what it means, high speed chase, and they don't even want to know what it means to me. The consequences of my actions, they always go over my head so easy. One mistake, that's all it takes, taking down the whole fucking contraption that I have built. And the flow, and you don't know what it means to me. Distracted myself with all of these flows and the poems that come through. Now I'm testing the teasing, and it's just tea to me, and really is something I cannot stand to laugh. But I know that the last laugh is gonna be had, cause they're gonna be standing last. And this is something that's built to last, and really it's a tragedy that they're not feeling it, but they're still in the past, whether or not they recognize that that's where they're at, and that's just where the discussion has been, and stuck in some kind of contraption that's built by people who have way power than them, and are always hiding behind curtains, trying to shed the light on them and find what is cursing all the rest of us, and living in this discursion. I mean, it's constantly confused and turned around at every little turn. There's nothing that I've ever known better than this is not how things are supposed to be, and it's discouraging, constantly up against these gray walls that are so tall can't even see over them unless you use your imagination, standing as tall as I can. But is it practical, or am I just better off doing my thing and rapping, staying in the basement, waiting until the relentless taste of it is just moving past the grasp of it, and I can barely get past it the way they want me to. This is all just something they have to come to. Alright, that's good on the rapping for now. I'll turn that down. How we doing out there? How we doing? That's interesting. Noise gate. Let me try turning that down a little more. I found a new technique for doing these where I can actually hear myself. So I'm monitoring my own voice for the first time on this stream, which makes it makes for its own challenges. Right now I'm trying to get it to cut out that background noise. You could probably hear that when I'm talking. Trying to do something about that. Yeah. Check. How's that? A little better. Yeah, man, I'm doing things. What's up, Mr. Obsessive? Why do I do what I do? Do I want power, fame, or do I want to feel good about myself? I guess I just want my life to look the way I want it to. You know what I mean? Like, rapping and doing music in any sense kind of becomes a catharsis, you know? It becomes something that just like feels good to do. And so I guess the ability to do that and have it be something that reaches people and has an audience. I guess in anything I do, the goal is to reach people on some level. And so that was always the goal with music and rapping for sure. And it still is the goal. It's still the goal with the podcast and everything. Like, that's why I guess I've doubled down on the podcast so hard, because it's like, if that's the way to reach people, then I'm going to do that. And I've always just thought about it in that sense, like, you know, however I can get out there and reach people. That's why I'm always trying different things when it comes to music, different ways of putting out music, freestyles, different ways of presenting myself, because it's like I'm just trying to find the way of reaching people that's going to connect. So ultimately that's what I do. And yeah, you know, to be able to make money doing that would obviously be the most ideal. Check. Yeah. Just trying to get that little bit of fuzz out while I'm like talking, because that's a little gross. How's that sound? What about you, Lintha? Why do you do what you do? Don't feel comfortable streaming. Interesting. Yeah, I think it worked for me for a while just because of the particular style of rapping that I was doing and that I do. And I think this sounds good. Cool. Yeah, I feel like I don't know, I was able to kind of get away with it for a while, but it's much better now. It's much better that I can hear myself. It's honestly a little distracting to hear myself while I talk, but hearing it while I rap is kind of like essential. I feel like that's going to make these a lot better. It's a lot easier to keep my train of thought and also like, you know, change my tone up a little bit and be, you know, be a little more interesting, focused in what I'm doing. I could also theoretically do different effects on myself now, like auto-tune and stuff like that while I'm streaming, so that could be cool. This feels a little over-compressed to me, but Amira was saying it was too loud. How does this sound? Can you guys hear me well? I think that sounds pretty good. Kind of want to keep it around this level. I'm growing in the craft. Thank you, Mr. Possessive. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate doing it this way much more for sure. I think it's going to lead to a much better product. I'm just trying to be consistent about these because these streams have been, it's a less consistent way of reaching people. So I have a lot of fun doing them, and the freestyles are cool, but it's been a little bit rockier of a road in terms of finding the audience for this. And so, you know, I've just been trying to like continue showing up, at least with the streams, even if I'm not posting that many of the clips, you know, just trying to stay consistent with the streaming. So I do feel like I've gotten better at this particular format, but not sure if it's hitting on all the levels it needs to right now. Control equals power. Control equals power. Are you talking about control in terms of like the audio levels? Because I guess I agree with that. I don't know that you ever really have control though. You know, I think that's what powerful people get wrong. They think you control things. They think you can control things that you can't control, or what they think is control ends up being leading to things that are out of their control. I'm just trying to figure out why there's so much noise that comes in when I talk, because there's basically no fucking noise in the room. Stay consistent, might be able to reach more people. Yeah, I've been pretty consistent on these streams. I've been doing them for a while, but I think what I need to be consistent about is this way of doing it, like doing the longer streams and mixing the rapping in, but also talking to people, because the longer streams obviously do better. So this, I think, will reach more people. Want to control all that you can control. I don't know. That's not my goal. I don't want to control things, because I think control, if control in itself is your goal, then you are, there might be like negative consequences to that. And if you don't, if all you care about is control, then you won't care that much about the negative consequences, because you will have maintained control. So that's like, I think a big part of the push and pull that you see from different leaders is like, you know, certain things maybe you could control or you could do, but it may, people who are more conscientious leaders think more about unintended consequences, whereas people who want to control things don't think about those consequences. But also, people who don't think about those consequences might advance more and do more, an example being Trump, whereas people who are more cautious and conscientious leaders would get less accomplished, i.e. Biden, who I wouldn't put him at the top of the list of leaders like that, but he was I think a more conscientious leader, which led to him being cautious on many things he shouldn't have been cautious on, and when it came to stopping the genocide, which we don't have any reason to believe he even wanted to do, but if he had wanted to stop that, by not being cautious and rather saying, I have the power to control this situation, so that's what I'm going to do, being too feckless to do that, he essentially ruined his legacy as president. So that's an interesting thing to me about power, is like, at what point do you say, at what point do you do things because you can and say, you know, there will be downstream consequences for this, but we'll deal with that later, or somebody else will? Or do you, like, you know, lead things slow and steady. It's just interesting to me. It's all about balance. Want to be part of something, but not the entire something. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how I feel. Like, I want to be a part of something that definitely like has the same slant as me, something that I can be proud of being a part of. But yeah, I don't want to control that. And that's also an interesting aspect of left-wing movements, right? Is like, are you in it because you want to control people, because you want people to do what you say? Even maybe you have really good ideas. You have a great idea of how things should be organized. Is your goal to say, I just need people to listen to my orders so that we can do this, this, and this? Or are you willing to submit some of your view of how the world works so that you can exist as part of a broader, less hierarchical movement, which is ever present, but maybe not influential in the way that other political movements are. Control is isolating. That's an interesting point of view. I guess it is. I guess control is isolating. And I guess when you're in control, other people kind of have to tiptoe around you, which is isolating. It reminds me of a tweet I saw that somebody was saying, people were talking about like the patriarchs in a family, and how someone who is a father who is passive aggressive, who doesn't deal with their anger well, it sort of becomes this ever present problem, this like, sort of monster or cloud that hangs over the family, because everybody becomes regulated around not pissing dad off. Not just because dad beats you or does whatever, but because the passive aggression lets everybody know that their behavior is not acceptable, it's not appreciated. So people learn to predict and to expect reactions like that from their patriarchal figure, which causes them to tiptoe around them. Anything from yelling to like the silent treatment to, violent behavior or just like scary behavior, by exhibiting those behaviors as a reaction to news you don't like, someone pushing back against you or something, it trains people to tiptoe around you in a way that becomes an incredibly unhealthy pattern of life. It becomes a stable family situation in some ways, but it's an incredibly unhealthy way for people to think about like a patriarchal figure, and it kind of creates the conditions where people have to learn to tiptoe around men in general, and men learn in environments like that to behave that way, that's the way you control a family. And I think that also causes fathers later in their life to not realize how much damage they did by not controlling their emotions. So by being like, by not directly lashing out or, like I said, beating your kids, but rather, having this sort of non-direct passive aggression that can be scary or destabilizing, that basically allows people to not realize they've done something wrong. And so if they get confronted about what can amount to abusive behavior, then they will basically say, like, what are you talking about? I never did this. I never did that. So that passive aggression is almost like it's an unconscious scapegoat, Like, I don't think people do that because they're trying to escape accountability, but it allows them to. And it comes from lack of regulating your emotions and a lack of wanting to deal with family problems in a head-on way, and rather just being a sort of disagreeable force that your family has to learn to navigate around, rather than someone who's actually like, loves them and leads them. For me, it'll depend on what the potential consequences are. I don't want to engage in uncontrollable risk. I want to engage in risks I can control. What would be an example of a risk you could control? Are you talking about risks in your life? Are you talking about risks on a, to leadership position, or risks in terms of like running a company? Just as an example. of what you mean by control, because I think there's always aspects of our life that we control. The main thing you can control is your habits. You can control the things you do every day, and that goes a long fucking way. I think most of the things that a person would want to accomplish in life, you can accomplish by being very disciplined in what you do every day. So that is a control that I do seek, and to be able to have control over my own life and my own stability, my own income, my own future, because of the discipline of the work I do. That is a kind of self-control that I seek. But I think trying to control things outside of yourself, I guess it's a thing some people do. People lead large countries, and people lead fucking, people control big companies and make big decisions. To me, it's hard for me to picture doing it in an ethical or effective way. My favorite color is like turquoise or teal, like a bluish greenish kind of color. I also like red. Maroon is beautiful. Purple is a beautiful color, but definitely turquoise or teal. Creates a stable family to what end? It goes back to the aspect of control. Sure, he's good at maintaining one situation, but to the detriment of others in the family and life. Self-control is the only control with no real risk. Right, and so it's a lack of self-control, which leads to not stability. I think it's like faux stability. I think stability was probably the wrong way to say it, but like it masquerades as stability. What it is people who don't have a family unit that doesn't have the healthiest like balance with life is going to find an unhealthy balance with one another. So that leads to toxic family situations. And the patriarch, especially in situations where they are in the traditional role of like being the main earner of the family, being the one who's out working while mom's at home, or some version of that, I think oftentimes when those situations start to get unhealthy for one reason or another, the fathers become fathers that aren't able to handle situations in a head-on and like responsible way. That's when they recede into the passive aggression, or rather than fully lashing out about things, they sort of make their emotions known in other ways. And I guess that does create a semblance of stability in the short term, because that is always a process that's happening in an unstable family environment. Kids that grow up in environments like that grow to feel that it was a very unstable environment. But at the time, the stability, the semblance of stability is reached by the father, by everybody implicitly knowing not to upset the father. I am not that constrained by ethics the way most people are. It became a requirement in my profession. Your mom calls it playing God. What's your profession? And I mean, I don't know. You are constrained by ethics whether you want to be or not. Like, what do you mean? What's an example of something that you want to do? Because sometimes you talk with this like supervillain affect, like you want to just like control people and control the world. And it's so like to what? Like, what are you trying to do? You've talked about uniting Africa before, haven't you? Is that on the list? The list of things to control? Because I'm down for a united Africa. Manipulation of DNA and cloning. Is that what you do for work, or is that just something you're interested in? Isn't the mob boss? I don't know. I think we have to ask some questions. What exactly do you do for work, Lunta? Studied biotech. What do you do right now? I mean, if you studied biotechnics, then like you definitely studied ethics associated with that. So you're just saying you don't care about that, or in practice it doesn't matter? Are you saying people in that field don't care about that? What am I going to rap about next? Yeah, in practice, it definitely does matter. Quality checks on products. Planning to switch and go for your master's. Okay, so currently you just kind of work in that industry. So obviously ethics apply when you're doing your job, right? So what is it that you want to do with DNA that you feel ethics don't constrain you? All right, we're going to read up a little bit on Graham Platner and maybe some other races. I want to rap about that a little bit. Damn, it's gonna be a whole fucking thing. Do I think it's possible for any one man to rule the world properly? I don't know. Good question. I think about things like that. Like, you know, what, because, like, it's so interesting the push and pull between democracy versus, like, more authoritarian styles of government. Especially in a moment like this, where it feels like, you know, the moment where everybody was assured that, like, liberalism and, like, just a robust liberal democracy was the answer to authoritarianism, feels like that era is gone. So it doesn't mean that it still isn't, but it means it doesn't seem like it is. And, you know, so you have this, like, slow, deliberative, and constantly self-checking process of democracy, elections, etc., which is certainly something we all can participate in. Many people are disillusioned about it for good reason, but, like, it's still there. And, you know, but then you have other countries like China that are more like one-party systems that just have more fluidity, and have created a stable society through, you know, pushing past and, you know, unilaterally creating, imposing, forcing the conditions that they wanted, which has in fact created not just a competitive and productive society, but one that arguably rivals others like America in terms of standard of living. So there's a question there to be had about, like, you know, is that how accurate would any measure of standard of living be in China, for example, a place that censors dissent of the government? So how much are people empowered there to say that they don't feel that their needs are met by the government? You know, it's a real question that I have. But I do think it's unquestionable that China rules, you know, provides for its people on the whole better than America does. And could that model be used to rule the world? I don't know, probably not. There's probably too many different kinds of people. I think there would have to be some kind of transformative technology or, like, biological event or something that made people a little bit more harmonized. I don't see any way that one person could effectively rule the entire world, or one group. I guess maybe through some kind of, like, vast Peter Thiel style surveillance apparatus. But, you know, Even that, I'm dubious about. I'm dubious if it's even possible to create something like that. But that's maybe my naivete. People in my field are less constrained by ethics as we have to do stuff like gene editing, changing people's animals, plants' DNA to fit our purposes. So when you say our purposes, what are you referring to? Because while you're right that doing gene editing and stuff can have risks, and so that is something that can't necessarily be accounted for, it also matters what end you're doing it to. If you're just trying to fulfill some sort of idea that you have and you're using living beings, either created or previously existing, to that end, in a way that disregards their, like what they might experience, or whether the outcome actually makes it worth what damage you might be inflicting by doing that. Like, it does matter. Are you doing it for a good reason, or are you doing it for a bad reason? Do you do gene editing technology that ends up getting used to create some kind of weapon, or does it end up getting used to create some kind of medicine? I guess the truth about that is you never know what a discovery is going to be used for. Scientists never know. But I guess my question to you would be, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you feel that ethics, that you cast aside ethics in terms of your goals in DNA and gene editing? Because I would encourage you to rethink that if you feel that ethics don't matter in terms of what your goals are with gene editing. Eb, you have to save the world. I will try. One bar at a time. People overlook about the U.S. is we're still a young nation. Most nations went through this kind of unrest in their history. Modern stressors to exacerbate them. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Possessive. I've been taking a much more long view on politics and everything in general, and I think that's the best way to look at it. Even though, like, the things that happen on the day-to-day are very important. When you look at it, the long view, you recognize certain trends that make you feel less like we're dealing with something completely novel. Although I will say that, the advent of AI and some of the technology that we're starting to see does complicate, it makes it harder to draw necessary knowledge from history to know what's going to happen next. But, still though, like, it's the best way, to look at it is to look at these things in terms of like a broad sense. Like you said, America's a young nation. It may still have some serious like turnover to go through before being what it is like supposed to be. The truth is we're still living in a fairly good time in America. The question is whether Trump is going to ruin everything so badly that we end up on a downward trend for like the next few decades. Like, that's really the biggest risk with somebody like Trump. I'm starting to feel like maybe that isn't the case, but on certain things it will be. Certain things we will definitely not recover from for a long time. Does the ruler have the consent of those ruled? A council of 9. What's council of 9? Remind me. One guy in China manipulated the DNA of 2 twin girls, made them immune to HIV and AIDS. He was arrested as human experiments were illegal. We could do more, including cloning humans, but it's illegal. Yeah, that's always the problem with science, is that like by doing things ethically, it does constrain the progress, but it comes back to that thing of like, is what you're doing in the pursuit of some grand outcome, does it make it worth it to do the harm that you're doing? So like if it was illegal to pursue all of these things, human experiments and all kinds of stuff, then a lot of people would die. More people would die and be hurt and have horrible things done to them than would amazing discoveries be made. Although those amazing discoveries would be amazing, we would essentially live through a period of horrific torture of human beings in order to achieve that, and I don't find that to be worth it. And neither does most of the scientific community, is my understanding. Make a council of 9 that has a certain percentage of automatic vote to some sort of group like a Senate. 10 years per council term. Eugenics is a very interesting topic because we do it with everything from fruit to our canine friends. As it is either against... No, wait. But when you talk about people, everyone loses their mind. Well, yeah, I think people are different from fruit and canine friends. Some people consider all gene editing to be unethical. I don't think that's the case. I think I think it's a necessary science, but it's one to be cautious about for sure. But at the same time, I mean, you see people spazzing the fuck out with AI and shit. So it's like, I do feel like it's hard to look at that and say like, we need to be slow and cautious in our approach. But at the same time, the AI shit is going to crash and burn, and it's going to lead to a lot of horrific results because of how relentlessly and unethically they have pursued, what they view as innovation. While gene editing might be unethical, either against or manipulating nature, is a plum an abomination? No, plum's not an abomination. But like, obviously we've created abominations of DNA. And it just goes back to what I'm saying. To say that we are going to improve the DNA of humans through extensive trials is to say that we're going to turn a certain amount of humans into test subjects. And that is worth it to create so, it comes into questions of like, who gets used for that, who doesn't, who's doing these experiments, at what point are the experiments done? Do you do that for the rest of history? You just throw people into the meat grinder of science so that you can, at what point is it diminishing returns? I think that the point is that we had already reached that point in society, like with Nazi doctors, etc., where they were, doing a lot of experimenting without questioning who and how it was being done. And a lot of, certain innovations that we have, understanding things like Asperger's and other human conditions, come from work that was being done by Nazi doctors. But there's a reason that they don't still conduct experiments that way, is because it wasn't worth it. The amount of human misery that went into that is not justifiable. Technology would definitely fall into the modern stressor department, but the ideology of the people ourselves is largely human nature. What do you mean by that, Mr. Possessive? Technology would definitely fall into the modern stressor department, but the ideology of the people ourselves is largely human nature. Oh, so you're saying that where people are at ideologically is something that has repeated itself throughout history. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think that will evolve. That is subject to evolution because of where we're at with technology, specifically because of how language is evolving. And so that is what I want to stay on the forefront of, is like how is politics and people's understanding of politics evolving, past some of the historical trends that we have seen. I think that we will continue to see iterations of things like socialism or solutions like universal basic income, as well as the more conservative and reactionary solutions that come on the other end of left-wing policy from time to time. So, those patterns will continue to replicate themselves even as AI and other technologies take over. But I do think that only through like an evolved understanding of these things and like new theories, I think that's the best way for people to connect with better politics going forward. I don't think that many Americans really have that much of an interest in their mind being changed or their, historical knowledge being edited when it comes to communism or socialism, etc. Not to say that there aren't people who can be reached on that basis, but rather that people are in a moment where they're very curious about politics and they're curious to hear new ideas that can help them put the world together. And so I think that's the best impulse to focus on in people at the moment. And that is something that transcends this current very bad moment in politics, because even throughout all of this worsening of conditions, the left-wing movement has still grown pretty steadily throughout all of this. Some wins, some setbacks, but the left-wing movement is still growing. And like that is, that's not going to just go away. AI is definitely a scam. So, Count Saint Germain, I cannot answer all these questions. I can't read all these comments, but you said, do I think AI is essentially going to have a cap or a ceiling? Yeah, I mean, I kind of already think we've reached it. I don't think AI is that capable of getting that much better than what we're seeing now. And there are some improvements that they can make, and they can drill down on certain details, but they can't really do that without excessively increasing their computing power that is needed, which is, I think, a crisis that we're starting to see. I can't really tell. Nobody's really talking about it coherently, But it seems like they are starting to enter crisis mode at some of these AI companies. It seems to me that things are not going well. That could be my bubble. Obviously, they still have a lot of investment. They've got a lot of money running through them, huge operations underway. But it seems like the math is starting to not add up in a way that like people at these companies are starting to notice that have been ignoring it this whole time. It's like it's coming to the point where it's like, okay, there's not enough return for this, and that's a problem. Yeah, LLMs are not AI. World War II was the first time in history where the true capabilities of bioweapons were on full display. Thus, it pushed the advancements in biotechnology. First time in history where the true capabilities of bioweapons were on full display. Yeah, but Luntha, you recognize that the types of innovation that the Nazi doctors did were only capable because of the discarding of human lives that was done during the Holocaust. And so you can't have one the other without the other. There's a reason they experiment on mice and not even bigger mammals than that, is because like you have to have a sense of control, like you said. If you want to be in control of things, that means you also have to control the nature of your own operation. If you're doing gene editing or something, or these AI guys are creating AI models that are just like crawling through the internet and shit, and they don't actually know, they don't have any control over what that's doing. And, you know, that's going to create a situation that does not have your desired outcome, i.e. some discovery or some Skynet that allows you to control the world. You know, the more likely outcome is that you're going to create a huge problem that you can't recover from. Luntha, you should read Jurassic Park. You should read the novel, the original novel, Jurassic Park. Really, really good book. So fucking good. One of the best I've ever read. And it is about exactly this. It's about control and how certain scientific innovations, certain scientific ideas inherently cannot be controlled. And so that the human and capitalist desire, not saying you're approaching it from a capitalist perspective, but I don't know, you know, that desire to control technological advancements and their products, specifically gene editing is what Jurassic Park is about. You know, that is foolish and also like destined to create chaos in a way that will spiral out of control. You should read that book. It's really, really fucking good. Can't recommend it enough. Hearing you say the left-wing movement is growing is reassuring. I want to think so. Admittedly, I find myself immersed in circles for safety, which can sometimes lead me to light ignorance. Okay, that's fair. I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to tell exactly what the breakdown is in terms of like demographics throughout the country. I mean, obviously, big parts of the country, especially less populated swaths of rural America, have, you know, come to identify more with right-wing politics. And I don't think that we're seeing that go away. But we are definitely going to see a backlash to Trump-era politics. And yeah, I mean, the movement is objectively growing. You look at something like DSA. DSA has seen enormous growth in the last 8 years, specifically since Trump came into power the second time. Huge wave of people joining DSA. And you're seeing that. That's making a dent on the Democratic Party. Like, people are leaving the Democratic Party or abandoning an old school Democratic mindset for something that is more DSA oriented. People just know that they want something more radical than that. And so because of that, you know, left-wing movements like DSA and even the Green Party, even though I don't love the Green Party, they have also seen a lot of growth. So while we are at a moment of intense despair and some pretty bad conditions in some ways, we are also at a moment where, you know, interest in those groups is growing. I don't know how much meaningful organizing has been growing to scale with like what is needed, but I think that I suspect that will become more readily visible over the next few years, potentially. Americans experimented on black people during World War II, not just during World War II, all throughout history. That's another place where a lot of innovation or just general like, I don't know, cruelty for the sake of curiosity and experiment has taken place is in America, you know, and that's an example of a population that could be essentially declassed and turned into fodder for experimentation, gene editing, etc. So like these questions are not to be ignored for the sake of innovation. I get why that might be your interest, but we live in a time of people who want to exploit tools like that. This is what you do with Trump. Let him cook, do his thing. Everything will be fine. In the meantime, you do what you want because this is America. See how that works. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It actually is kind of like that. You understand? Well, what were the experiments you were conducting in college? 2024 was the most politically involved, both socially and financially, I've ever been, and since we lost, I kind of got jaded. I never knew to the extent to disengage. Yeah, I totally get that. But just remember that in 2024 was, a major misstep. It was basically 2016 times 2, where, you just had a Democratic Party that failed to meet the moment of addressing the voters that wanted something better from Kamala Harris. And really that failure started all the way at the beginning of Biden refusing to drop out or refusing not to run. But, I think that what we're seeing now is movement in a Democratic Party that tells me that we're at least, even in a more centrist candidate, we're going to see capitulation to the left. That's what worked under Biden. That's what worked when Biden won in 2020. He capitulated to the left more than Kamala Harris did. And it worked. People showed up to vote for Biden, way more than they did for Kamala Harris. So I think it's kind of inevitable, especially after whatever's going to happen in this midterms. I'm becoming more convinced that we're going to see a substantial change in like the makeup of the Democratic Party in this next midterms. I don't want to overstate it because I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm starting to see real momentum from the left flank. Charlie calling Kamala brat was enough to win the whole thing. No. Well, I guess it could have been enough. I think that was around the time that Kamala lost aura because that was around the time that she fucked up about the Gaza issue. If she had spoken differently about that and taken a hard stance against Gaza, plus had the brat and all that stuff going, then yes, that it would have been an easy dub, bro. Easy dub. She had the aura. But she fucked it up because she didn't take the right positions. And it's because she was biased towards this like centrist type of thing that you have to pretend to be Ronald Reagan. That was the advice she was getting. And, it is totally possible that the Democratic Party would just do that again. But what I know is that the first time there was an election under Trump, they tacked to the left more than they did with Kamala Harris. The reason Kamala Harris felt less comfortable tacking to the left in such a limited time is because they had come off of an administration that by the right was perceived as incredibly left-wing, even though it wasn't. So they felt the need to run away from positions like open border and transgender for everybody, and didn't feel that they had the credibility to make, arguments in that direction in favor of those things. So that's why you saw Kamala Harris tacking to the right on immigration, and military, etc. So under Trump, the conditions are going to be different. People are going to be hungry for a change in politics. I don't know what kind of candidate we're going to end up getting, but I see momentum going in a left-wing direction. Vance has no shot. It's too early to call stuff like that. He does have a shot for sure. Sure he does, but it's gonna be hard. I think that as of right now, Trump and anybody associated with him, including most of the Republican Party, is just gonna get absolutely wrecked. Like I see no other possibility for them. So that includes Vance. It's hard for me to imagine a winning campaign for Vance, but we don't know what the conditions are going to be by then. It could be, we're going to be talking about a completely different country. Imagine the difference between America in 2019, 2018 versus 2020 when the election was happening. Are you kidding me? Nobody could have predicted what different conditions we would have been under at that time. So a million things could happen, and it's not that worth speculating about, at least not on that level of like, this person's gonna do it, this person's not gonna do it. We have no idea. Gavin Newsom could be our socialist king by then. I'm just kidding. He's not going to be, but you know, you just never know. Like, the conditions could demand that, right? Like, if the Democratic base is unabashedly demanding a socialist by the time we get to 2028, are we going to act like Gavin Newsom wouldn't play that role so he could win? Of course he would. So that's what I mean. We just don't know what the conditions are going to demand at that point. Probably what we're going to be seeing is more war and increased economic chaos mixed with probably some giveaways from Trump to try to appease people, because he knows that things like the stimulus checks, etc., helped his popularity. So they're probably towards the end of his administration going to try to find some way to do something like that again. Bill Gates messing around with E. coli. From mice. Inserting part of the DNA responsible for producing insulin so that the bacteria can produce insulin. That sounds pretty cool to me. I don't really get it, but I dig it though. I don't think anything's wrong with that. It's all about the process. But what's up, bunnies? How we doing? I'm just chilling on stream. Yeah, now that I'm doing these long streams again, it's starting to catch more of my main audience. So actually, on that topic that we were just discussing, I'm going to do a little bit of reading about the current state of some of these Democratic races, and then I'm going to rap about that a little bit. Socialism is disgusting as a transitionary phase to communism. Yeah, if it drives you guys nuts, I can turn the background music off. It's just because I rap on it and then just turn it down for the talking part. Doesn't bother me though, actually. So, are you a communist, Counselor Saint Germain, or are you saying you're anti-communist? Vance's popularity just hit its all-time low a week ago. Popularity has increased. The Republican Party does not have it locked up for the next 10 years. You're saying Vance's popularity has increased? No, you're talking about Trump. I'm kind of questioning what perspective you're coming from at this point, Counselor Saint Germain. How would you describe your politics? Have I seen you on the channel before? Is this your first time on the live stream? Socialist, Democrat, Bolshevik. So you're a right-winger? So you're a right-winger. Also, who's Ingalls? What about Engels? Alright, well, I'm not going to mute you totally, but I'm going to mute you for the next 30 minutes, because you're posting too much anyway. It's not just because you're right-wing. I don't mind you being right-wing in the chat, but you're doing a little too much. I'm not going to let you, control the direction of the conversation. Can anyone please explain why Erica Kirk is getting online and talking to us as if we should care about what she has to say? It is weird how she keeps doubling down. Do you think maybe her and Charlie talked about it before? Like that he would want her to do that? Or do you think it's CIA ops, she's taking over Turning Point USA, robot Erica Kirk? You probably don't care about smaller races, but there was an interesting one for NYC Council District 3. I care about smaller races, for sure. Which one was that? Give Obama one more term, just so Americans claim they have a handsome president once more. Ingalls is the co-author of the Communist Manifesto. Jesse Miller. It's Engels, not Ingalls with an I. He spelled it wrong. And he was saying that he's an idiot. Mute because you don't have anything to say to their debate points. No, he was just commenting too much. Like, I'm not going to mute you, but if you start flooding the comments and trying to like make it a more argumentative chat, then I might mute you. So I only muted him for 30 minutes. If I really wanted to get rid of somebody, I would mute them permanently, but I didn't do that because he wasn't arguing or anything, but he was just doing too much. I read a lot. That's why I know that his name is Engels and not Ingalls, which neither of you know for some reason. Both of you guys are asserting knowledge about this and neither of you know. Gotcha, okay, so I'm going to mute you as well. Actually, this account is just going to get really muted. We were talking the other day about how the trolls have been gone. But see, that's why. It's because you can't help yourself. I only muted you for 30 minutes, and I think your other account will come back in 30 minutes. It was really just because you were saying too much in the chat. I actually don't mind having like back and forth conversations on these. I think it's fun. But if you're going to start to do these sort of like obsessive behaviors where you're spamming and you want everybody to debate you on every point, that's just annoying. So if you want to come back in the chat later and just kind of chill and, challenge me on some points, I like it. It gets me talking. But if you're going to put 10 comments and then just like keep, pushing the conversation in a right-wing direction, that's just not what the stream is for. Not if you're going to flood it. If you want to push me, that's fine. But you have to limit your engagement. This person's just going to keep popping up on different accounts. What shaped the District 3 race? Special election. So it was Carl Wilson. And we like Carl Wilson. 50% threshold. Every one of these fucking sites you have to log into. In a blow to Mamdani. Okay, there we go. That's what I needed to know. Blow to Mamdani. Is that true, Mr. Possessive? Is that how you understood it? Mamdani Menon proxy battle. So Mamdani wanted Boylan to win, and she did not. Less than an hour after polls closed, 43% of first choice votes. Wilson served as the chief of staff to the former council member Eric Botcher, who resigned in February. So he's a little bit more of like a right-leaning Democrat. I don't really care that he's gay. Like, that's cool. That's an interesting thing about the Democratic Party, is that like the Democratic Party is the one that has a long history of upholding certain minority rights like gay rights, black people's rights, and other minorities. And so now you see candidates and politicians who are good or consistent on those issues, but fail to meet the moment when it comes to like the issues that are emerging, like Zionism and economic issues. And it's just an interesting place to be, because that's also where some of the entrenchment of the Democratic Party comes from, is that there is still a, what do you call it? a constituency, an audience for more standard Democratic Party policy, because there's a lot of minority communities in the country that feel that Democrats are the ones that have always stuck up for them, which is true. And so a lot of times those communities are actually more hesitant to back more left-leaning candidates. Not saying that specifically in the case here. I haven't read enough, but do I know Forrest Valkai? No, who is that? Conspiratorial part of your brain says that Erica is smart enough to know what people think. I was thinking about it the other day when I was watching that little video she did. I think that she is like somebody is encouraging her, right? So I think that she sees all the hate and she feels that there's a very negative reaction to her. But I think she also is kind of, I guess, high on her own supply, or just, I don't know if she's being manipulated, but it just seems to me that there must be somebody around her that's telling her that she should keep doing this. I like Tallarico. I think that he captured the rhetorical needs of the moment. He's not quite as good. He didn't end up being as good on Israel and like Medicare for all as he seemed like he was when he emerged. So that's not a good sign. It seemed to me that he moderated a little bit throughout the campaign, which was a fucking Democratic primary. So I don't know. That probably means we're going to see more moderation from him in the election, more demurring on issues like Medicare for all. But I think his strong stance on corporate power and pointing at that as the target is the right move. And I think that his not left and right, but up is up versus down. Not left versus right, but up versus down. I think that's the right approach, especially in a seat like his, the seat that he's running for. That's the right way to approach it. So, we'll see. I think he's probably got the best shot of anybody that could run for that seat. He would be better than a Republican. So, I mean, kind of, he's a more left signaling Democrat, which would be good to have in that seat instead of a Republican. Just got the mix back from the homie. I could name drop right now, but I'm not even going to do that. Yeah, it kind of sucks that she just bailed on her political career in order to do that run. I thought it didn't work like that. I guess it depends on the race, but I gotta rap again in a second. I've been doing a lot more chilling and chatting than rapping on these streams, but I guess that's okay. Eagerness to look ahead to the November election. Watched a high-profile primary evaporate in the wake of Mills' announcement she was dropping out. It's just so funny that they just kept trying. They kept trying to knock Platner off of his feet over and over, and it just kept not working. Like, the support, he just kept going up. It's like exactly what happened with Trump when he ran for the first time in 2016. It's exactly what happened. The attacks just kept coming, and everyone was like, it's over, he can't, and it just kept going up. It wasn't just like, oh, he's still in it. It was like undeniable. I really wonder if that's what's going to keep happening in the Maine race. Boris Valkai is my favorite biologist, who also happens to be a progressive, socialist to some extent, and an atheist. He has his own YouTube channel. Okay, cool. That sounds sick. I am going to look that guy up. Write that name down. Captured the zeitgeist. Hell's Kitchen in Chelsea. So, Mr. Possessive, what does that race in New York say to you? What are your feelings about it coming out? Published several academic papers. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. The thing that somebody pointed out is that Maine, what's her name? Susan Collins has consistently done pretty bad in polling in Maine and still ended up winning. That has actually been the pattern. So it's hard to know. It is hard to know. I suspect we'll probably see a similar pattern that we saw in the primary, where he just keeps walloping. They're going to hit him much harder. They're going to try. And, if there's more to come out, it's going to come out. If there's any attack that's going to stick, one thing that I have learned about the Republicans is that they do know how to focus in on a candidate and try to sort of emasculate them or try to damage that appeal that they might have to like young men or whatever. At the very least, they target that super hard. And like in the case of Tim Walz, it kind of worked. I didn't think that, Tim Walz came out saying, they're weird and blah, 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 and he was the only one saying that, and it worked really well. And then he kind of got muzzled by the campaign. So I think because of that, they were able to just tee off on him, and the everything from the tampon thing to the way he looks to they tried to just emphasize or make it seem like he's effeminate in some way. That was their approach. And at least among right-wingers, that worked. They created an impression that Tim Walz is some kind of weird, guy, effeminate guy. So I don't think that Grant Platner's, it's not going to work as well, but there are the same entry points to make that same argument with him. Anything from what's your policy on transgender bathrooms going to be, or transgender issues in general, or anything that they can use to try to make him seem like they're trying to make him sound like an oaf or a moron, or he's unserious. Like, they're going to do all of those arguments, and something will probably stick. So I will be very interested to see if the support, the consistent and growing support that he's had in Maine, if that continues to contend with, what they're going to hit him with. That being said, as far as I can tell, it seems like they are disadvantaged. The Republicans are disadvantaged when it comes to their spending. Like, they don't have as much money to spend. So it's possible that Platner could fucking run away with this, especially because Susan Collins is so weak. She's just old as fuck. Everybody hates her. You know what I mean? Who the fuck is going to vote for Susan Collins over some new fresh face? So maybe some of the controversial stuff will still have some sway, but I don't think so. If it didn't have sway with Democratic voters, who's it going to have sway with? I'm not disappointed, but the general opinion I'm based in, just because they're gay doesn't make them the best option. For me, I was happy in a way. I think having it in gay hands is a good thing, but that's only one point of many to be made, obviously. That's interesting. Sounds like that was an important dynamic in the race, is that he had, I imagine that's what his competition was running against, that idea of, support for gay people, LGBTQ especially, or etc. And that probably, I wasn't paying attention up until this point, but that probably was something that ended up defining the race. No, like this candidate's gonna do away with Stonewall. She wants to knock down the Stonewall. He was like, no, I don't want to knock down the Stonewall. I don't want to. I'll build another one. I'll build 2 Stonewalls. Didn't work. The New York gays were not having it. A lot of baggage. Platner's convention speech was filled with empty platitudes. This is just a quote from a random person in Maine. Funded by Cuomo. I didn't know Cuomo was funding people. How does he have enough money to do that? Of course. Of course now he just has to be like the boogeyman of New York politics. Yeah, they want to go after Platner for the posts, the comments. I've especially seen a focus on the Hamas stuff. There was a video where he was saying that, like, there was video footage of a Hamas operation, them, like, I don't know, kicking down a door or something that they were doing, and he was saying that it was a well done operation, basically in a subreddit that was like meant just for commentary on military operations. I think it even said something like, you know, not related to their politics, but just a good operation, something like that. So he made a lot of comments like that on Reddit, and I think they're going to focus on that. And I wonder if they're going to try to paint him as like a super radical, because there's pictures of him, you know, running a gun club and doing trainings like that with his community. Like, when it came to some anti-fascist shit, Graham Platner has real bona fides, at least in Maine over the last few years. So, like, I wonder if they would try to use that against him, or if they feel like that would end up hurting him, or if they do use it against him, I'd wonder if it would end up hurting him. I feel like it might. Fun fact: the chicken is the animal closely related to the dinosaurs. Yeah, actually, I knew that. That was the Jurassic Park, the novel, and the story in general was a big part of what pushed that knowledge into the public consciousness. I think that was written around the time that they were learning that, or at least that was becoming mainstream. And so that's a big part of what's in that book, is like the skeletal structure of dinosaurs, the way they hunt. It portrays dinosaurs like raptors as coordinated pack hunters and things like that, and describes them expressing like molting behaviors and that sort of thing. Super, super cool. You would really love that book. Where in Maine is Platner? I don't know exactly. He's running for Senate in Maine. I don't know where he's from exactly. Somewhere on the coast, because he had a job as an oyster farmer, or I guess he owned a farm. Yeah, same. I didn't read it as a kid. I just read it recently. I should have read it as a kid because I would have fucking loved it. But when I read it recently, I was like, I just read it all in one weekend. Like, I couldn't stop reading it. And I've read a lot over the last year or two, and nothing like that. Like, that book had me absolutely enraptured. Yeah, Maine is very liberal. It's also very white, which I think explains why Platner was able to coast, despite some of the downsides. So it's an interesting state, you know. Susan Collins has also been pretty dominant there this entire time. So, as Sam Cedar from the Majority Report put it, Platner probably has the best shot of anybody in several cycles. Ogunquit. Did I say that right? Ogunquit. All right, I'm gonna rap a little more. Is there anything else I should read about Platner? Read what The Intercept has to say. I didn't know this. I didn't know that Tim Walz gave his email list to Janet Mills during her campaign announcement. That's interesting. All right. Reptiles can survive on 1 to 2 meals a year. Oh, that's interesting. And also, they say now that they think dinosaurs were probably a lot more feathered than we think, because they were even the little arms that T-Rexes have is more close to like wings, right? And so they're thinking that more dinosaurs had like wing type arms and structures, as well as just feathered bodies than they thought. And it's actually hard for them to know to what extent dinosaurs had feathers. They might have just had a few. They might have been like absolutely covered in colorful feathers, which would be so cool. All right. Yeah. Okay. Feeling the ground shift underneath me, and I'm hoping it sees me. Yeah. And lately this evening, I'm thinking it's time for an evening out of the way things are keeping. They're trying to keep me out, but I know that if they keep me in doubt, they're gonna see a new route. They want to just seed the ground, but they can't see it. But I'm putting seeds in the ground. I can see around all the rhetoric they're trying to make. They're trying to take it to a new space, but I'm taking my time. My spaceship's a little janky, but it's gonna get me there on time. Just wait, just watch and see the sublime, the lifting, and just know that my mind gets lifted. And every time I come through sifting all the gifts they want to give, but this giving I'm doing is gonna get you through the next day. I'm just breaking through these limitations. There's no way they can take it longer. It's taking as long as it's gonna take, but I'ma take the championship like I ran the race and can't win. And there's so much more they can't get. I'm hoping they win the damn gist, but just know that the damages are gonna add up, and I know they can't adjust. Just wait till the fucking machines they come for us. They're gonna come for us. There's nothing to comfort us, and the fucking labor that we do gets taken from under us. Yeah, and there's so much to assume on. Weird thing to focus on, but a curious topic, and I know that for as long as it goes on, there's gonna be more to speak on, and I'm trying to just keep the conversation in motion to just see if it goes too long, just keeping it going strong, just checking their motivations, what's the motives and how are they staying on, be on topic, knowing I'm just knowing and keeping myself on topic, trying to flatten it, trying to bring this shit back and fully redacted. Just know you'll get redacted quick like Epstein files if you want to be talking slick. No wonder I'm backing it, no wonder they're backing it. I mean, want to be accurate, they want to be like me, but you see that I'm just moving with this backpack and shit. And what do I got packed in it? You know, I always got something that's gonna cause some compunction, might even puncture the veil and push you back a bit. And I'm sure that the action is something you're unfamiliar with, and I'm just trying to give you really the gist, and it's really legit, and it's still seeming like it's a scene that you're not gonna get between. But I seen you on the scene, and I'm sure that you get what I mean. And I know it's demeaning, and I know that you're not seeing it. I know I'm in the scene with it, and I know I'm just keeping the waves going underneath my feet, and it just seems like I'm surfing it, and I know they're deserving it, and I know that I'm keeping the curb with it. I'm trying to ride the wave, but I feel like the wave is coming. There's nothing that could stop it. Know that their compunction always gonna come through, and I know it just feels like a softening, but there's no time for being soft in it. Gotta take the ground that we can, gotta keep talking our shit. Now it's the time to just pop off at the mouth and never stop with the relentless critique of the economics around us, and how leftists have been pointing out the problems with it the whole time, and all the dark clouds that surround us could be fixed by pulling up the ground underneath the social safety nets that are made for all of us, and made to include, and just getting it through. And this is just new, it's nothing new when it comes to policy, but Americans never been enthused. Always want to call it socialism or some other kind of bullshit that's made for fools, and the rhetoric never goes away. Gonna see reiterations for as long as we're alive, and as long as these politicians keep breathing and keep speaking, they're always gonna have a new way to say it, and that's what's gonna be the nomination and nominally define the definition of the races we're gonna see in the next couple years in American spaces. It's gonna be all about socialism and communism, calling anyone who has any type of social program in mind some type of socialist that wants to take away all your shit and all your submission and just cause some kind of collectivist dystopian situation. Not gonna work if the Republican conservative vision has led us to destitution that everyone's gonna be living in eventually because of the Trump movement and his intuition so terribly tearing apart everything the way we always knew he would, giving it a chance for new leadership all across the country, probably seeing a shift tectonically, honestly not seeing what the end result will be yet, but it seems to me that the wave is coming, more than a blue wave, a wave that wants something from the government to actually be done, to be raising the ceiling and be raising the floor underneath all of it. Needs to be some real reconfiguring of the system that we have underneath our fingers, and we have it at our fingertips. So to be legitimate, we gotta be getting right into it, and this is just a game we gotta been playing it for way too long. It can't even stop scrolling. There's just so much going on in the mind. It keeps a grip holding us. I ain't grip and I'm finding myself constantly in the grip of the conversation, wanting to find some way to make sense of it, and there's no way to be on the fence with it. Find a side and make your sides and then just be signed. I mean, there's a seismic shift that's happening and I want to be a part of it. I can't even see why, but yeah, someone in the chat, man, USA sounds like a really real account. Man, you just say, don't you say, don't you see how things are gonna go this way? Yeah, and it's going the funky way, and I'm gonna just control the escape, and I know it escapes me like air when I'm going, and there's too much coming out of my brain, I can't even control the shape of me. Yeah, Grand Platner probably got Maine sewed up occasionally. Not sure how Susan Collins or the Republicans are gonna be able to get the narrative back in their hands, but we'll see. Probably gonna try to split the base as much as they can, try to just exploit the fact that Graham has issues in his past that make people look at him suspiciously, including me. But that's why I think it's important to support people who are saying the right thing on a public stage, to have a platform and platform them, even if some of them might be informants or some kind of formation that is used to cause weapons against us, gonna switch their whole mind situation and mental molecules, gonna cause all kind of shifts, whatever it takes to shift the tectonic plates, even if frauds want to get in place using that type of situation. That still means that the plates are shifting, and the conversation that we're having is gonna be on different ground and is gonna be grounded in a whole different flow of things. And so that's the only way that we can be keeping it all going on occasion. And I know that the whole thing is gonna keep their brain shaping, and the shape of my brain is it's taking new fluid occasion. The environment is changing around it, so I'm just trying to adapt to it, making sure that I have the proper tools to do what I need to do when the future comes, cause it's coming no matter what you want to do with your time. Better use it wisely, cause I'm seeing that seeing beyond me is the only thing I can ask the people who are listening to do if they're gonna be taking into consumption. What the fuck does it mean to me? Let them grow if they're evolving. Facts, yeah, what the fuck are they get involved in? They're getting all pushed back, and to be honest, I'm sure that the ballpark attempt that they're getting is gonna put them in the back of the tent. What the fuck would I relent for when there's no consent to be had for dropping these bombs? And this is just something I'm doing, getting the bombs across is part of the culture at this point, isn't it? Pointing out things on a map that I couldn't get the point of, but I'm disappointed in what I've seen in the future turn out to be, and now I'm an adult in it. Gotta find a way to get around this bullshit that they're constantly putting in the pot and stirring it, acting like it's my problem. And I guess it's part of my problem, isn't it? I guess I've gotta make some changes like anyone does, but these things are constantly stressing me, pulling the brain strings and my fucking mental cap out, and I'm just about to tap out, hitting the cap, the ceiling about to break, and underneath me I'm seeing all kinds of things that take shape. It's breaking me, and I'm sure they need a break from me. Can't wait till they're just taking what comes to them complacency. The ebb and flow always happens. Things shift back in the other direction inevitably, and what needs to happen is actual left-wing candidates coming to take shape and shaping American politics in a different way than it has been. That's the only way that we can recover from the damage that Trump has done. Is gonna be uncoveted and undiscoverable for at least a few decades. Not gonna see the full ramifications. Someone who has the vision to see it these days and actually take control of the situation before it can get much worse. And like dude said in the chat, Republicans having control for the next 10 years, that's the worst possible situation that we could be in. And I'm seeing that there's other paths that we could be taking, but only if some real radical ideology takes place in the Democratic Party. And the two-party system is designed to keep radical ideology out from either end and push it to the fringes, try to control the current copulation of the people by making radical ideology something that doesn't fit cleanly into the barriers created by the two-party system. And that's the way that you can make it so that capitalism is always protected by the system control, and the levers that be never gonna be pulled in a way that pulls us in a gravitational way that makes us all a little bit more happy, a little bit more well-fed, and a little better off, while some of the capital opportunity to fill space with no law is pulled back. That's why ethics are needed, cause if there's no ethics in the creation of medicine or the things that are used by capitalists, then they'll just be depleting resources that all of us have and keep moving, cause the profit margin is there, so their feet are gonna always be feeding on what they're needing. Like bird feeders are set out for them, they're gonna find it, and it's not gonna be defeated unless we can surround the property. And maybe discount it, put a discount on it, and wait till they're all discounted. And this founder is gonna have to, get fucking spreading the wealth like a fountain. And that's just the end point that I found him in. Push the Overton window as far to the left as it can go. And this is just a tango that only a few know. And really this is just the truth though. And I'm hoping it's useful, hoping that more than a few can find use of the things that I'm doing, going off of the dome. And hopefully this is new to you or new to some, but I know that controlling the whole conversation is not something that one group can do, but rather it's a collaboration amongst all the people, all the little memes and things that people are repeating without thinking. It all adds up to a public zeitgeist and a flow of things and a tectonic shift, the kind of thing that shapes the whole system and the way all of us are thinking all at once. And I hope that what they're wanting is coming to the end of it, no fronting. I mean, the end of the front's gonna probably put you where you punted, but what the fuck would they want from it? Not sure if the discussion has gone on long enough for them to get what they want from it, but the tons of it gonna get dropped out the other end of it. Hope you plummet it way deeper. Propaganda from terraformed person, but I'm terrified that they're gonna form some kind of new operation that's gonna cause some terrible form of murderous obfuscation. Alright, I'll chill on this beat for now. What else did I want to talk about? I was going to talk about Tucker Carlson. I feel like I'm going to be talking more about him over the next week or so. There was that interview of Tucker Carlson. Should I watch that? I've already watched it. I guess I could watch that on stream. Yeah. I'm curious how the sound quality of this one is going to come out after I'm done, because I'm doing it a slightly different way. I'm monitoring my audio in a way that I wasn't doing. They already heard me say that before. How's that sound? Maybe I should just keep the fuzz while on. Does this sound better? No, it sounds like warpy. How well can you guys hear me when I talk like this? You think Tucker's gonna make a run on American First Ticket? Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. That's why I want to talk about him more, because I feel like it's becoming very clear what he's doing. Maybe I should watch it on stream. I just plan to make an actual video about it. I don't know if I would want to watch the whole thing. Should we really focus on moving the Overton window? I mean, yeah, for sure. for sure. Because that's what's happened on the right. The Overton window has moved a lot to the right. So I do think it has to move to the left. I don't think that's the only thing that can happen. Clear with a tiny warble. Does the warble work? Because the warble is there while I'm rapping for aesthetic purposes. But if it sounds too unclean while I'm talking, then I'll get rid of it. But yeah, I think you can't only focus on moving the Overton window because you have to focus on policy. But the point is that certain policies aren't going to be considered or possible unless the Overton window is changed and moved. Like the fact that the Overton window is too far to the right for us to even talk about universal health care, that's a problem. So the fact that Democrats are now talking more about universal health care, and that's something that's driving the momentum of the Democratic Party, that's good. That's going to put us in a better position. That type of policy is going to solve some of the underlying problems that lead to the rise of fascism in the first place. So it just has to be done, you know? It's not even that that's the only thing that can beat Trump. It's that that's the only thing that can prevent Trump. That's the only thing that can actually improve society. That was true in 2020 after the disaster that Trump created. And it's true now. It's just we kind of got away from that. The fact that Trump got a second shot is just unbelievable. No pun intended. So should I watch this interview of Tucker Carlson? Do you guys want to watch that, or should I just like read some articles? I think that's like the last thing I'll rap about before I wrap it up. Yeah, Frabel definitely has to change. I think America has to become just more socialist. That's how I would describe like what I want to happen to America. I don't necessarily want it to become a socialist nation. I want it to become a more socialist nation. I wonder if that right-wing guy is going to come back on the chat. I didn't mute his first account totally. I just paused it for like 30 minutes. But then I totally muted his other ones. So I wonder if he's going to come back. How was the rapping sounding on that last round? Was it solid? It's currently 4:36 a.m. I guess I'm coming up on the end of my usual streaming time frame. I'll just chill for a little bit longer and then do my raps about Tucker and then wrap it up. No pun intended. I'll probably drop a video tomorrow being Tuesday morning, about the Tucker Carlson interview with New York Times, because there's some shit I really want to get into about that. Now, I work night shift. I do these on Sunday night because that's the best time for me to do it when I'm not at work, and I actually like doing these at night, even though maybe like doing it in the morning would be better. At night it's cool, and I'm just on this type of overnight schedule because I work overnight. So a lot of the first streams that I was doing originally were I was doing at work, and that's why I don't do them as frequently, because I was streaming a lot from work, which I felt was not very smart. So focused on, or that's why for a while I was doing them on Friday evenings before I went to work, and then I decided recently that I want to do them Sunday in the morning, really Monday morning, because I have a lot of time. Basically, I can take all of Sunday to myself to prepare. And exactly, Mr. Possessive is here. Literally, Mr. Possessive and a lot of you guys were not in the chat up until I started doing these longer streams on Sunday nights again. I think fully redacted. Fully redacted has been in a few of the stream of conscious rap streams, but I don't think I saw Mr. Possessive in any of those. Hell yeah, thank you, fully redacted. I appreciate that. When it's night there, it's day here. So does that mean it's like becoming day? Like, is it like evening time, nighttime there? Because it's very early morning. It's like so early in the morning that most people haven't woken up yet. Yeah, I know. I definitely know. I've seen you in the stream of conscious rap streams. Do you? How do you feel about this format? Do you prefer this format? Do you miss the ones where I was just rapping straight for an hour? I kind of prefer this. This is a little easier on me, but I do find that I spend more time talking than rapping. But I also think that it seems like that's kind of what the audience wants. I don't know that the audience, even in these streams, like people aren't like going that crazy. For the freestyling, but I think it just hasn't found its audience for that yet. But do you prefer these longer ones where I'm talking in between, or did you like to just hear me rap? I do like this beat a lot. I'm probably gonna make a song to this beat. That's another thing, is that I need to drop more songs. I want to drop songs like fucking RXK Nephew style or something. Like, I want to be able to drop a million fucking tracks, bro, and just have people fuck with every one of them. You like the dialogue? Yeah, it informs the flow. It makes it a little bit more. It makes it more chill for me and a little more fun. And also the longer streams do better. Plus, not rapping, breaking up the rapping more. It's like, it just makes more sense. I'm gonna keep doing them like these. I think the part I can't figure out is like whether I should put out the stream of conscious rap as a separate piece, like take the clips and put that out as a separate video, or should I just leave it all as this longer piece? I like making different clips of stuff, but it's always it's hit or miss whether YouTube like responds well to that. It'll be dark in a few hours. Did I find any inspiration? Find any inspiration for what? What do you mean? To drop every song. Yeah, I want to be able to drop, like, I would drop a song a week if I could. If the audience was there for it and it was like worth it. Like, the audience is there for those podcasts, so I drop one every fucking day. I would drop a song every day if there was that demand for it. And I was doing that about a year ago now. I had a series called Daily Songs where I dropped about 30 songs about every day. I skipped a few days. I cheated. But that was fun, man. I would fucking do that. I would do that for a living. Just drop songs every fucking day. But like, not practical, and that's just not really how people consume music. Try a couple of both and see what's better. Yeah, I've been trying different things. I've been trying things on different accounts, like making random accounts and trying stuff. Will be the devil's favorite spawn. What do you mean? Do you mean that will be your name? Or do you mean that, like, that? Do you mean that metaphorically? Like, you don't know what the name is? That's a good question. I feel like I can always dig up inspiration for making songs. It's more so finding those moments where I like really want to write it. Because I'm pretty conceptual in my thinking. So if I want to, I can always come up with something. Lately I've been more focused on making beats, freestyling, trying to figure out these formats. But I think I'm doing a studio session with my friend tomorrow, and we're gonna work on a new song. Plus I got some shit dropping. I got a couple in the can that I'm gonna drop. But I want to be able to just make a song and just drop it. Make a song and drop it. I don't believe in the devil. The devil's favorite spawn. Yeah, you've said that before, that will be your name. What is that? Is that a rap name? And also, why are you doing DNA experiments in favor of the devil? Are you just being edgy? The devil wears Prada. Has the new Devil Wears Prada come out yet, or is that still just coming out? I'm gonna write down a couple of things for this. Oh yeah, you like it? record a video of me recording the song. Which song? I should do that more. Oh, I should take Amira to see that. That's a good idea. Very good idea. I think she would like that. She's never mentioned Devil Wears Prada though, as like a reference point. You're still thinking about it? So what are you thinking about? What are your thoughts? I definitely think she would like it. I'm not sure if she's ever seen the original. She must have. And maybe we've talked about it, but I don't think so. Well, yes, Luntha, we know that you are interested in DNA experiments. We gathered that. We are aware of that. Alright. Project Hail Mary. I've been thinking about watching it. Should I? Wasn't there somebody saying it was like a religious movie or something? That's the thing that's made me hesitate on watching that. But I don't think that was actually true. I think somebody was just bullshitting and said that. But that was like the last I heard. Yeah. Project Hail Mary. Doing a Hail Mary and waiting till it hails. And it's wait until the damn very end. And the very answer gonna cause some variation. And it's scary again. Being edgy with the name, trying to find himself at the edge. But going over it is something he's over. Don't be over your own head. Just know if there's something going on, you gotta own the shit. Yeah, need some more ownership. Like, don't we all? Ain't that the whole onus and shit? Yeah, and I know that there's a supply behind the eyes of people who are trying to hide what they know, and they're just constantly hiding the potency of shit, knowing that there's much closer we could get. But I'm trying to be the one roping you in, gotta keep you close again, and knowing there's so much gonna be toasting to the fucking end of the corpse that was holding in, flowing. Alright, let's just warm up. This beat is fire. This is easily the best one of this cycle. Yeah, I just went to Mr. Possessive. I just went to this really cool fashion show the other day on Saturday. It was really dope. It was my homie from out back home in Cincinnati who came out to LA recently. One of my most talented friends from back in Cincinnati came out here to LA. He's dope. He was doing a show at this, like, it was like a he performed songs. He's a rapper as well. His name's Deo Gold, and he there was like a fashion show that came after it, and I guess his girl was the one who was doing the fashion shit and running the show, so like she was cool. It was my first time being to something like that. It was like just a low-key little fashion show. I don't know much about that world, but that was interesting to me, and I definitely saw the appeal of it. Because it made me feel like, damn, okay, I want to fucking get fly. Like, I see the appeal. Definitely when you're around people who just know how to be fly, it makes you want to, like, express yourself in that way. Yeah, Deo's fucking dope, bro. I'm definitely going to incorporate him. Like, I'll have him on track soon, and me and him are going to be doing work together for sure. He's already on my SoundCloud. I have work out with him. I've had a bunch of songs out with Deo. One of the people I've collaborated with the most over the years. So, he's fucking cool. Heavy focus on change and how things evolve. There's also some pretty incompetent businessmen. Found very poignant. Change and how things evolve. That's interesting. I dig that. So talking about like the future and stuff. Really showed it in a beautiful way. That's cool. Yeah, I think I will take Amira to see that, or at least we'll watch it together at some point. Ever listen to Blueprint? He's a pretty established indie rapper from Cincinnati. Yeah, I fuck with Blueprint. I didn't know that he's from Cincinnati. Is he from Cincinnati? I definitely know him. He was over there with fucking rhyme sayers and shit. No, he's from Columbus. He's from Columbus. So he is from Ohio. And I do fuck with Blueprint. But no, rappers from Cincinnati would be more like Talib Kweli is not from Cincinnati, but he did work with High Tech, who was a producer from Cincinnati, one of the most famous. They did some good work together. There was a rapper in that underground battle rap scene called Unseen, who was really cool. He unfortunately took his own life some years back, but he had some really cool rap battles. Unseen was his name. And all the Rhyme Sayers guys came through Cincinnati a lot. They were definitely like very familiar. And in fact, there was a major fight that happened at Top Cats in Cincinnati, which was right where I used to live. That essentially was like put Rhyme Sayers on like bad terms with that venue for a while. And that's the reason that he says, last time I felt as sick and contradictive as this was the last time I played a show in Cincy. On Trying to Find a Balance, he says that. And he's referring to playing a show at Top Cats where a big brawl broke out. A bunch of people got hurt. Some girl was involved or something like that. I don't know. I've for the longest time I've wondered what he meant by that line, and I just found out recently because of an interview that Mr. Dibbs did. So Cincinnati is very entwined. Idea and abilities, my favorite. Huge, major inspiration for me. Major, top tier inspiration. And that's the category Unseen fits into. I liked his freestyle style a lot. Similar to Idea in some ways. Change in time, both in business and personalized. They even mentioned AI, not in a cringe way. Yeah, I figured when you mentioned change that would have something. Yeah, his girl, yeah, she definitely could. This girl could dress us for the videos. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely gonna be dressing him. He was wearing some pants that she wore at this show yesterday. It was super cool. Oh yeah, Cincinnati's known for drama. Cincinnati's known for being kind of like, I guess it's known for like fights. There's always been this like sort of negative association with Cincinnati that I haven't really been able to put my finger on. But I think it's that like people who are in the streets there, or some people who are in the hip hop world, like just can be like sort of disrespectful. So it just can be like the rules people operate with in Cincinnati might be a little different than people who are coming there from out of town, which has led to some disputes. Is I think that's what I've been able to gather. But like T.I. has gotten into fucking shootouts in Cincinnati. Talib Kweli had drama there last time. Maybe not last time he came there, but a recent time that he came there, he had drama with a rapper named Bugs Rocka. So like there's definitely some beef. There's a reason that Cincinnati is not a more known hub for hip hop. And still to this day, I don't really know what the explanation is, but that is a thing about Cincinnati that has always frustrated me. All right, let me rap. Yeah. Shout out to Ian A. Day. Note that I'm just doing this the slate the whole game way. About to just put you away on layaway. Gonna just lay there for a minute. The layman might say something, but they're gonna have to stuff it. What the fuck are they just doing other than coming to the game with their assumptions? Big shot coming through. Gonna take some big shots just to get through to them. And really it's incongruent with any type of leadership or grouping they wanna group me in. But it's not gonna work cause they're just looking like groupies again. And I'm seeing if they're gonna get stuck in a loop again, and the background loop, feedback loop that they're feeding back to is probably just keeping them on their ones and twos. Better get back on your feet again or face defeat again. Gonna see if this is the end of the fucking century that you wanted to see. Pick up your pieces and put them back, cause otherwise you're gonna see the seasonings changing and needing a new piece of seasoning. Gonna keep the gleaming and shining and know that I'm shining, I'm on top of the shit all of the time, and know that I'm coming and they wanna come through and get compliant, like I'm on stage at Top Cats and I'm making my demands, getting defiant, and I know that I'm getting it, trying it. Why the fuck are they trying to end up in the triangle like there's some loving it, but I'm not loving it. What the fuck is the point of it? And if there's a problem, I'm gonna point at an elephant in a room that I'm gonna instruct it. I mean, it's instructive, no point in being destructive. There's no point in distrusting. This is just some shit that's gonna kick you in your buttocks if you don't button it up in a quick second. Just living for what you're leaving, and I'm leaving it all behind, cause I can see it's alleviating and relieving them, relieving the duty of people that are not really meant for it, can't see it through. And so I'm just trying to see the blues in the skies. What I need to do is giving me instructions that I need to be bleeding, and I need to keep on inking these dots and crossing T's. But if they're crossing me, they're not gonna see the best side of me. Might get crossed, I might need a cross on my necklace just to make sure I'm not getting into some shit that's gonna make me look reckless. Yeah, might get them wrecked again, and really the correction of the direction, the crash course that I'm taking might just take a second. And I know that they're gonna have to hold and fold. They wanna be folding, but the folders they got information I'm needing, can't quote them. And I know that it's just me, and I'm gonna have to be the one that is obsequious. And I mean, I'm just not gonna be obsessing over no one, cause I know the next second is the one that you're gonna love less. But there's one lesson I need to get across to you, is that when things are looking a little different and liars are changing faces, there's too many faces behind it. I know that there's only one way to see what's behind it, is to lie with it and to try it. I mean, these people that are trying it seem like they got enough knowledge that they could just keep it sustained for a while, and if they don't get called out, then they might start wilding, trying to control the mileage. Got people like Tucker Carlson on the scene, seeming like he sees an opportunity to be grabbing a cauldron, grabbing a championship, and trying to call it all the name for himself. And the fascist movement's not gonna stop with Trump, and matter of fact, behind him it's kind of falling apart. And I think certain Christian nationalists like Tucker Carlson are starting to see the writing on the wall, that even if Trump makes it through the rest of his term, it's not gonna be pretty for him at the end of it. And the conservative movement's gonna have a lot of tragedies and travesties it's gonna have to answer for. And it's gonna have to make the argument that someone like Tucker Carlson or J.D. Vance would be an improvement. And I'm not really sure that that argument's gonna be getting through, but that's why you're seeing some movement on them in this moment. They're trying to prove that they're seeing this war and not wanting to go in that direction, even knowing that this is just a part of conservative politics. This idea that we are gonna be some kind of isolationist government's never gonna happen under any right-winger. Not possible. Matter of fact, it's probably gonna be difficult to get it under a Democrat or a leftist either. But it's not impossible, but really the conservative ideology that they want to go with is always going to pull them toward trying to get in the way of socialist and communist governments around the globe. And they're always going to try to pull that same bullshit, and Tucker Carlson will be worse than the next, especially when it comes to groups within America and people that want to help him build his power in this moment, especially when he needs it, because he's going to get wrecked by the Trump base going against the big dog, the big man, already losing parts of his audience. And he's not actually growing in this moment, and he needs left-wingers to be pushing him through and actually caping for him. That's the only way that he's gonna form his new identity going forward. But trust, he's not gonna be some kind of leftist. That's a right-winger through and through. And if you listen to his spiel, he's still talking about Christian nationalism and owning the soul of the nation and trying to control it. That's what he wants. He sees an opportunity to make a philosophical argument about what we should be doing with government and how to use the failure of the Trump project to bounce off of it and move on to the next thing. And he sees that leftists are probably going to take over that conversation about what government should be doing with the power it's given to them by taxation. And Tucker seeing that an argument's going to have to be made because people are not buying giving it to ICE and sending it to war in Iran, or giving it to Peter for Palantir so he can surveil anyone that he can anywhere that he wishes. It's something that people have questions about. And so a Christian nationalist talking that kind of talk is exactly the kind of thing that has ushered fascism in the past, because they can make those capitalist critiques, but when it comes down to it, all they want to do is hand power over to the people who want to use it to control the steel and mills and everything that production will use to yield the power of the workers, force them to congeal and yield to their will, and it still just yields more and more. And that's the conservative estimate for how fascism grows under the current conditions. Capitalism slows in its productive ability, especially putting AI into the whole system, and knowing that the only way that they can make up for those losses is to throw people into the meat grinder, and seeing if I can see beyond the conditions they're pushing upon me, and saying that the ethics of it don't matter, cause what matters is what you get out of it. That's the current age that we're living in. There's gonna be a lot of people making the argument that the ethics of the situation don't matter when it comes to who's getting grounded up and who's falling behind in this progression of humanity, because as long as it's AI powered and the goal is to spread humanity to the stars or some bullshit, then anybody who gets ground under the wheels of that, or any planet that we destroy with fossil fuels, is just a part of the calculus, part of the, what do you call it, externalities, and that's not something they're worried about, because their personalities just keep them going, moving past those causing them, calling them fallacies, and really the causality is gonna be something they can't look at casually. So let me just wait till the casualties stack up. I'm not gonna wait, I'm gonna speak up, because I can see that the ideologies are forming behind something that's only gonna remove the resources from more and more people across the nation. And people like Tucker Carlson see that in order to save the fascist movement, there has to be a more populist argument, and it has to go against what Trump is currently doing. That's all he's doing, that's his whole project, and he needs credibility from the left and from others who are starting to be moving away from Trump independence, that trust him less. Building up that type of credibility is the type of thing that's gonna actually give him visibility and get him across the line. And maybe individuality is not what he wants, but he wants alignment, and he's gonna find anyone that will say the same thing as him, find his audience. Helping him do that is not something that is cause for anything other than condemnation. So this is something that is a common placement. I'm just saying, I'm not waiting until these fascists are in power playing in our faces. Tucker Carlson is the more competent fascist we were always warned about when it comes to Trump, and the destruction in his wake is exactly what paves the path to someone like Tucker Carlson to actually know how to use the levers of power against us, and that's what he will do if we let him, if we allow him to. Yeah, alright. Alright, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, just over an hour. Said everything I wanted to say on that, I think. I'll read these comments. Have I ever pushed a kilo? No, I've never done that. A key is light work, my man. Make K-pop? What about a key pop song? Tucker is MAGA but hates Israel. Only difference. Yeah, I think Tucker is trying to build something that will ultimately be worse than MAGA. Your solutions tend to over-destruct. Destroy purity culture. No, I think the answer on all these things is to just like blaze ahead. Like, whatever your opinion is, whatever your thoughts are, just like put it out there and don't apologize for it. And I think ultimately that will like take up more space, and the purity or the people complaining about certain things. It's like, if it's not working, then it's not working. If it keeps working to get people worked up and going in circular conversations, then it'll keep being done. So I think the best thing you can do is to just like present a more interesting conversation and try to get people moving towards that instead. But alright guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. This was a pretty good stream. I enjoyed it. Much love to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys. I will be back with a new video tomorrow morning, and let me see. Yeah, I'll figure out what type of bits and pieces I want to chop this into. And yeah, probably drop some clips from it, maybe some shorts or something. Thank you, Mr. Possessive. Hell yeah, thank you, Fully Redacted. Appreciate you guys supporting in the stream. Appreciate you, Luntha, or Devil's Favorite Spawn. Thank you for creating like cows with 2 heads and lizards with fish gills and stuff like that. We really appreciate that. Thank you guys for the conversation about Cincinnati as always. Good morning to everybody. Everybody have a good day. I'll be back with another one of these next week, same time. So next Monday at around 3 a.m. Pacific time, I'll be hopping on stream, rapping, yapping. and I'll put out some clips through this through the week probably. All right, everybody be safe. See you next week.